As is our custom, we have a weekly call with the Department of Health, with our biostatisticians from Florida International University, and with our epidemiologists. And based on that call, we make some decisions. Based on some calls that we had last week with the Mayor's Coalition of the Miami-Dade League of Cities, we asked Mayor Corradino to join the call that we were having previously with Mayor Gelber from Miami Beach, Mayor Hernandez from Hialeah, and Mayor Gilbert from Miami Gardens. And so we're very thankful and grateful to the League of Cities for combining their efforts with the four major cities that were coalescing and discussing these issues with the Department of Health. What we've seen, as Mayor Gelber and I said last Monday, is an increasingly troubling trend of cases that have been continuing to escalate. And to put the numbers in perspective, the high water mark for Miami-Dade County when we decided to implement a stay-at-home order was 533 cases. Just yesterday or the day before, we had over 900 cases in Miami-Dade County. That's twice the high water mark. In the state of Florida, the high water mark was 1,300 cases, and we've seen days with 4,700 cases, which is more than 3 times the high water mark. And so because of that, we obviously do not feel comfortable going into phase 3. That's something that we announced last week, and there will be no changes in that announcement for the city of Miami this week. In addition, we are going to be implementing a mask in public rule. Everyone will have to be wearing masks in public. Right now, the mask requirement is only when you are inside, when you are at parks, but are not exercising. And now it will be a public requirement. I know many of the cities, or some of the cities, will join me here today with that requirement, and that is something that we are going to be mandating as of today. Without a doubt, enforcement will be a challenge, but just like when we implemented a stay-at-home order, one of the things we wanted to make sure was that our residents understood what was the best way for them to protect themselves. And what we've seen is, in the last 2 weeks, is we've seen an increase of new cases of 35 new cases per day, which was the same sloping increase that we saw before we implemented the stay-at-home orders. So we are extremely concerned that hospitalizations are up, ventilators are up, ICU patients are up, while deaths remain low for the time being. Obviously, that's a number that oftentimes will lag behind some of these other numbers. We are seeing the most dramatic increases in the age group of 18 to 35, and we are seeing them in some zip codes in the city of Miami, which I want to announce because I want our residents who live in 33142, 33125, and 33126 to understand that they are in the zip codes where this is increasing the most. We have been generously given a mask to be donated by Mr. Norman Brayman, and we're going to be passing them out in those zip codes to those who live in those zip codes as well. Quiero decir brevemente en español, básicamente lo mismo que dije en inglés. Cada lunes tenemos una llamada con el Departamento de Salud conjunto con los alcaldes de Hialeah, Miami Beach y Miami Gardens. Hoy invitamos a representantes de la Liga de Ciudades y estoy muy orgulloso de estar aquí con ellos. Lo que estamos viendo es lo mismo que vimos la semana pasada, un aumento de casos. Tenemos doble la cantidad de casos que tuvimos en el momento más alto cuando nosotros decidimos imponer un orden de quedarse en casa. Hemos visto un aumento de 35 casos diarios por las últimas 2 semanas. Las hospitalizaciones están aumentando, los que están en ventiladores están aumentándose, en ICUs también se están aumentando. Aunque eso vemos aumentos, no estamos viendo aumentos en lo que es la mortalidad por el momento, y esperamos no tener que verlo. Nosotros vamos a estar implementando una regla que se va a tener que utilizar máscara en público, y también no vamos a ir a la tercera fase. O sea, estamos asegurando al público que en este momento no estamos listos a base de la información que hemos recibido para ir a la tercera fase. Si ustedes viven en el código de zip 33142, 33125 o 33126, esos son los códigos de zip en cual la mayor cantidad de aumentos estamos viendo en estas semanas. Así que, por favor, si viven en esos códigos de zip codes, tienen que tomar precauciones extraordinarias. Nosotros vamos a estar proveyendo máscaras para personas que viven en esos códigos de zip code. Así que vamos a continuar con la conferencia, dejándole a los otros alcaldes poder discutir si ellos van a implementar similar reglas como estamos implementando en la ciudad de Miami. Gracias.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Joe Corradino with the Miami-Dade League of Cities, Mayor of Pinecrest. On behalf of the league, I'm with Mayor J.C. Bermudez from the city of Doral. We run the Miami-Dade City County League of Cities Mayors Coalition. When we opened up the businesses a while back, I think we all understood that we would see fluctuations in this disease. And over the past week, we've seen one. We've seen a spike. And we're not only paying attention to it, but we need to immediately stop it and we need to reverse it. The Miami-Dade County League of Cities has been working with Miami-Dade County, all of the league, and we're unified in our approach to making sure that we urge our citizens, our businesses, and ourselves so that we are able to abide by the social distancing and the rules we have in place. It's not time to panic, but it is time to make sure that we take individual responsibility. So as we are out and about in the community, if we need to go out, we need to keep distant. We need to wear a mask, and we need to practice excellent hygiene. Our businesses need to conform to the rules we put in place. We put those rules in place not only with the business community, but with the medical professionals. And if we follow those rules, we will be safe. And the cities, all of us, need to do our role to facilitate this. And that means rigorous enforcement. So with that, I'm very proud to stand here and say that the Miami-Dade County League of Cities, all of the cities in the county with Miami-Dade County have come shoulder to shoulder in a unified approach to making sure we eradicate this disease as quickly and as safely as possible. With that, I'm going to invite Mayor J.C. Bermudez to speak on our behalf.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Juan Carlos Bermudez. J.C. Bermudez, the mayor of the city of Doral. It's great to be out here with my fellow mayors, and I want to thank Mayor Suarez for hosting us today. I'm going to reiterate what the co-chair, our co-chair, Joe Corradino, who's done a great job from Pinecrest, who's been in meeting after meeting with the numbers and reviewing all the medical expertise that's been provided. I want to reiterate what we're all here saying today, which is very important. Number one, first and foremost, this is not over. That's number one. So we need everybody in all our municipalities. The 34 municipalities of Miami-Dade County represent a little bit over half of the population of Miami-Dade County. And along with Miami-Dade County, I think we're here today requesting that our residents, our businesses, and even the visitors to our cities follow the rules that we have all agreed to implement. It's for your well-being, it's for your safety. Second of all, I think we're also here reminding everyone that we will enforce those rules. There is no difference whether you're on Miami Beach, Miami, Doral, or Pinecrest, or unincorporated Dade. Our residents and our businesses come in and out of all our cities. So the most important thing for us today is to remind you that we are on the same page, and we ask you to follow the rules. And number two, if you don't, we're going to enforce the rules. Unas cuantas palabras en español. Soy el alcalde de la ciudad de Doral, Juan Carlos Bermúdez. Primero, muchas gracias al alcalde Suárez por tenernos aquí hoy en su ciudad. En segundo lugar, en nombre de la organización o la Liga de Ciudades de la Ciudad del Condado Miami-Dade, quiero darle las gracias a Joe Corradino, el alcalde de Pinecrest, que ha hecho un gran trabajo en reunión tras reunión con expertos del condado para nuestra organización, para garantizar que la información llegue a todas las ciudades. Las ciudades hoy somos más de 50% de la población del condado, pero con el condado estamos comprometidos con dos cosas que son muy importantes y quiero reiterar hoy. Número uno es que necesitamos que el público, nuestros residentes, nuestros negociantes y también los visitantes sigan las reglas. No hay una diferencia si uno está en Miami Beach, en Miami, en Pinecrest, en Hialeah o en Doral. Todos somos una comunidad. Y todos tenemos una obligación como residentes, como negociantes y como visitantes de seguir las reglas. Y número dos, creo que estoy unido en esto también con los alcaldes que nos encontramos aquí. Vamos a enforzar las reglas. Yo sé que hay algunos que opinan que posiblemente las reglas no se deben enforzar. Entiendo algunos que piensen que no se deben enforzar a todo tiempo. pero la realidad es que esta enfermedad está aquí por un tiempo y seguirá por un tiempo. Y la única manera que nosotros podemos asegurarnos que nuestros residentes, nuestros negociantes y nuestros visitantes estén saludables y los números no sigan a incrementar es que todo el mundo siga las reglas. Y número 2, que nosotros vayamos a enforzar las reglas. Así que quiero dejar claramente que todos estamos unidos en esos 2 puntos. Esos 2 puntos son claves y son básicos. Sigan las reglas y si no las siguen, nosotros como oficiales electos tenemos una obligación con nuestras ciudades de enforzar las reglas. Muchas gracias. Let me introduce the mayor of the city that I just mentioned, who has a lot of people on his beaches, Mayor Dan Gilbert.
Thank you, JC, and thank you to all my colleagues. Thank all of you. I mean, honestly, it's important for our residents to know that no matter where we came from, no matter how we got elected or who elected us, we all agree on a couple things. And the first thing is, this is a real spike. This is a real trajectory. This morning, listening to the DOH experts, listening to physicians, listening to public health care advocates, it is very clear this is real. And people can argue about the number of positives being related to more testing, but they can't argue with the percentage, which is now over 10%, which is what the CDC says tells you you have too much virus in your community. And nobody can argue with the fact that there are more people being hospitalized, because either you're sick or you're not. And that's just something that's inviolate. And we have too many sick people coming to our hospitals right now. It's not going in the right direction. The DOH folks said something that Mayor Suarez alluded to a moment ago. They said very directly to us, we do not believe you should be going to the next level. You're going in the wrong direction. And that's something we have to listen to. So the second point is, well, what do we do about it? Well, it would not be responsible to hope that the next guy wears a mask so you don't have to. It would not be responsible to rely on irrational optimism that this is all going to go away. The only way we beat this thing is if we decide we're going to beat this thing. The only way we do that is by following these guidelines. I understand there are a lot of young people who want to go out and socialize. I have 2 college-age daughters in my house right now. I hear it all day long. But you can't do that in an irresponsible way. Because, by the way, lots of folks at Jackson being hospitalized are under the age of 50. In my own hospital in Mount Sinai, we have the same thing happening. You will be hospitalized if you get sick. It doesn't mean you're free, but more importantly, you're going to infect other people who might not survive a hospitalization. So we're not going to beat this thing by letting somebody else beat this thing. We all have to do it. And our cities are going to do it too, because we will, you know, we understand these industries have been racked economically, and it's been horrible, but they have to try very hard to comply, and our code officers, our cops will be there making sure that they do. We don't want to close anyone down, especially someone who's suffered so much economically, but we simply can't let our community continue along this trajectory that puts people's lives at risk. Thank you. Oh, now my favorite Gilbert, Mayor Gilbert. You almost got it right. Just to get rid of the T and change the I to an E.
Thank you for not giving a Sunday sermon, Mayor Gilbert. Listen, it is. I'm not going to reiterate what everyone else said. I just want to start with my day today. I come to this press conference from a funeral, a graveside funeral, someone who passed away from COVID-19. And sometimes, because we're talking about numbers on a piece of paper or the things that we hear on the screen, it might be lost to people that while you might not know their names, there is a real consequence to not following rules. There's a real consequence to the constant uptick and spike in positive tests and hospitalizations, and then people being on the ventilator. Eventually, more people die. We're not here in this hot sun in these suits and clothes because we want to, and we're not telling you to wear a mask because we enjoy wearing masks. We're telling you to wear a mask because this is literally a question of life and death. And this isn't a suggestion. In Miami Gardens, you have to wear a mask. And in businesses, if you are not following the rules, do not become the business that we make an example out of. Look, we don't want to shut down businesses or an economy. That's not what we want to do. And all of us liked our lives before COVID-19. We don't enjoy wearing masks in public. We don't enjoy the extra precautions that we have to take. We're doing it because it's necessary for us to actually live and move forward as a community, not as a Miami Gardens community or as a Miami community or Miami Beach or Aventura, Hialeah, as a community. This is what has to happen. We have to become more serious about this. We know that the natural and probable consequence of more positive infections, a higher positive rate, are more hospitalizations. The more hospitalizations you have, the more people who eventually will go on ventilators. The more people go on ventilators, the more people will die eventually. That's what we're here for. That's why we're speaking out against this. It is my hope that everyone who's going to see this or hear my voice just take it seriously and understand that I came here from a funeral this morning. Later in the week, I'll be going to another one of someone who passed away from COVID-19. There are real consequences to us not following the rules. And I understand that young people, you know, it might not make them as sick. But I know no young people who doesn't have contact with older people. You're 18 years old, you're probably standing in the house with your parents. You're going to see your grandparents. You're circulating throughout a community who have people who are going to be especially at risk. While it doesn't make you sick, we need you to be a good member of the community to understand that what might not kill you will kill your neighbor or your family member. So let's all be careful. Thank you. I'll introduce now the mayor of the city of Hialeah.
I think I'm going to just repeat in Spanish what you just said, because I think that's real important. Mayor Carlos Hernandez, City of Hialeah. No estamos en un momento crítico, pero estamos en un momento bien, bien serio. Y la seriedad se ve aquí, con todos estos alcaldes buscando soluciones. Pero ahora es el momento en nuestra comunidad, el sur de la Florida, Miami-Dade County, decir, aquí estamos todos presentes y hacer todo lo que tenemos que hacer. Porque no queremos ninguno cerrar negocios, no queremos tener que dar multas. Pero como dije, estamos en un momento bien serio y el próximo paso hacia adelante, ninguno tenemos que tomarlo. Así que todos tenemos esa responsabilidad personal de usar y hacer las cosas que se lo están pidiendo. Usar una máscara en público. Y en la ciudad de Hialeah, en público, todo el mundo tendrá que tener una máscara puesta de ahora para adelante. De nuevo, no queremos enforzar, pero si hay que dar multas, se darán. Si hay que cerrar negocios, se cerrarán. Porque hemos llegado al momento que aquí vamos hacia adelante o de verdad vamos a marchar para hacia atrás. Así que es un momento crítico en el sur de la Florida. Thank you.
So if there are any questions for any of our mayors, now is the time to ask.
Yep. Yeah, so the real takeaway is going to be we're not going into phase 3 in terms of we're not going to be opening up nightclubs. We're not going to be opening up, movie theaters. We're not going to be opening up large venues. City of Miami, I want to be clear because does not apply to all cities. And in the city of Miami, we are going to be implementing a mask in public rule, which means before we had masks when you were in a commercial space, when you were in a park not doing recreation, or when you were in a restaurant but not at a table eating. Now the requirement is going to be when you're also in public.
What's the penalty for that?
It's the same penalty as any violation of our emergency orders. It's a misdemeanor punishable by up to I think 60 days in jail or a fine.
You were at a restaurant the other day that you saw some violations. How do you feel about
There-
the fact that they're taking steps with some businesses that are just not
Sure.
following protocol?
They were shut down the next day by the city of Miami. That business and a variety of other businesses were shut down the next day by the city of Miami. So we're going to continue to enforce that. It was misreported that they were shut down by the county. They were not shut down by the county. They were shut down by the city of Miami. And we're going to continue to shut down businesses that are not complying with the rules. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's unfortunate. We take a lot of pictures, and it's incumbent upon me as a public official to make sure that every single picture that I take is done responsibly, and that one wasn't.
One thing I want to say to
They were
everyone.
shut down the next day.
One thing I want to say to everyone. Remember, there's.
Yeah, go ahead.
Excuse me, everyone. Excuse me, everyone. There are a lot of mayors from a lot of different cities that are here, so I want you to ask questions that please regard to all of the different cities, so other mayors who are standing in the hot sun just as you are have an opportunity to respond.
Oh, time out, guys. Is anybody else? Okay, hold on. Question, guys. Do you have any questions for any of the other mayors? Thank you.
You've been very outspoken about making sure that residents across South Florida are staying healthy, are staying safe. You're one of the first cities in South Florida to close. Health experts would argue wearing a mask now is no longer enough. We're past that point. We need another shutdown. Why not go that far? Why do you think masks, everyone wearing a mask now, is all of a sudden going to see us, on a downward curve?
You know, it's a good question, and I think all of us are wrestling with this idea that we have to stop this, especially because whatever the situation is now, we know that it's really weaker. It's really cooked already with some virus that that hasn't been reflected in the metrics. Look, I think we owe it to our community and the livelihood of the members of our community to try everything we can before we reverse to the shutdown again. I mean, look, obviously, if we get to a point where our healthcare system is going to be overrun, we'll have to consider everything on the table. But right now, we have a lot of tools in our toolkit, including more mask use, including enforcing it in places indoors where our healthcare experts say is most likely to create the problems. There are other things we can do before we do the big prophylactic that we did earlier and had a devastating impact on our economy. But by the way, if we can't stop the trajectory, then everything is going to have to be on the table. Just there's no reason to say that now when we have things we can do and countermeasures available to us, like more mask usage, like enforcing the rules we have. People have to comply with it. Don't wait for the next guy to do it. You have to do it.
So this is a warning to South.
Oh, by the way, there's no question it's a warning, but not a warning like from us to them. This is a community issue. We have to decide we can beat this, but we only beat it if we all decide we're going to beat it. We can't beat it by relying on the next guy to do the work.
So we're going to take a question in Spanish. Mayor Hernandez.
Creo que lo que acaba de decir el alcalde de Miami Beach, creo que lo dijo todo en unas palabras. Se está hablando la pregunta fue si debemos cerrar los negocios en este momento. Creo que todos sabemos qué significa cerrar esos negocios en este momento. Ya vimos el efecto de nuestra economía cuando se cerraron esos negocios. Creo que ahora, como dijo él, es el momento de no esperar a que otra persona se ponga la máscara. Póntela tú. Y si no te la estás poniendo, le estás faltando el respeto al resto de la comunidad. Porque hemos llegado a un momento, como dije, un momento serio. No crítico todavía, pero serio. Y lo que vamos a hacer nosotros como individuales es lo que va a decidir qué pasa en las próximas semanas o los próximos meses en nuestra comunidad. El mensaje que quiero, y estoy oyendo estas preguntas, más importante que ojalá que se dé aquí, es este mensaje. Todos estamos en este barco y la única manera para adelante es todo el mundo para la misma dirección. Si no, vamos a encontrar en aguas bien, bien difíciles. Thank you.
Alcalde, una pregunta. Para que quede claro a los televidentes en español respecto a las máscaras en lugares públicos, ¿qué significa cuando vas a pasear el perro, cuando vas a correr? Ponme ejemplos para que la gente lo entienda.
Máscara pública quiere decir cuando sales de tu casa, que estás en una calle pública, caminando tu perro, caminando del parqueo al shopping center, tener la máscara puesta. Ejercicio, si estás haciendo ejercicio, y eso que las ciudades tendrán que decidir, cuando estás haciendo ejercicio, si puede ser sin máscara. Pero el problema grande que estamos viendo es de nuevo personas caminando por la calle, personas en parqueos sin la máscara, personas que o se la ponen cuando le dicen que se las pongan. Pero vamos a estar, decir la verdad, hay muchas personas que están tomando esto después que se reabrieron las cosas, un poquito muy lejano. Y creo que el mensaje es, estamos en una situación seria. Y por eso estamos todos estos alcaldes aquí buscando soluciones, pero al último del día todos tenemos que poner nuestra parte. You want to take how many, en español o en inglés? Oh, Francis, you want to take it?
Déjame, las ciudades que por el momento se han sumado a la directiva de poner las máscaras en público, desde que yo tengo entendido, La Playa, Miami Beach, Hialeah, Miami Gardens, Aventura, North Miami Beach, Key Biscayne, Miami Shores, casi todos que están aquí. Sí. 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 Yo no estaba en público sin máscara. Yo estaba en un restaurante que yo no tenía que tener la máscara puesta en el sitio, o sea, en la mesa. Lo que sí, desafortunadamente, tomé una foto que fue inapropiada desde el punto de vista que no tenía o la máscara puesta o el distanciamiento social con la persona con cual yo tomé la foto, y en eso tengo que hacer mejor. Yo soy un ejemplo, no solo para mi ciudad, pero para todos mis residentes, y es importante que yo siga el ejemplo que yo estoy tratando de enforzar e implementar, sin duda. Well, I'm not sure that I understand the question completely. What I can tell you is we have a variety of rules, and if they're not following the rules, we can shut them down, which is what we, the city of Miami, did this weekend. We shut down 5 businesses. My understanding is we shut down 5 businesses, and we're going to continue to do that if they're not following the rules.
Restaurant workers say that we're getting sick, and we know coworkers are testing positive, and they're saying if you don't have symptoms, show up for work. How do you enforce that if you just go to them? You can't say, show me your health record.
Yeah, that's difficult. I understand what you're saying. That's a different problem, and we're going to have to figure out how to work through that. Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I know we have a lot of dynamic mayors that are here today, but we have not heard from one of them, particularly our former president, Mayor Cubillos. She's not only the mayor of El Portal, but she's also one of the only female mayors that are here. You see, there's a number of them, but none of them have spoken. So we want to give an opportunity for a representation of our community to have an opportunity to answer some questions. Mayor Cubillos.
Good afternoon, buenos días, buenas tardes todo el mundo, y gracias por estar aquí. The message that I think we all want to walk out here today, and I really want to commend every single mayor here. They have a tremendous job. Each city is so dynamic and so different. But the message today is that we want to be unified in that face covering is ideal and most important, and many cities are now mandated. But at the end of the day, everything that we do impacts tomorrow. So every decision we make today impacts tomorrow. Therefore, each and every single one of us have a husband, a wife, a partner, a son, a daughter, an uncle, an aunt that we all love tremendously. So therefore, it should, amongst all of us, to always wear a face covering. No matter who you are with, no matter where you're at, you must have a face covering, because before any decision is made as to whether or not anything can be shut down, we must comply and do what has been asked already. So I think that's what we are all here together today, to really come together as 34 cities. I think we have about 19 represented today that we all completely support the mayors who have spoken today. You have Mayor of Miami Beach, you have the mayor of the City of Miami, you have the mayor of Miami Gardens, you also have the mayor, the commissioner of City of Miami that has spoken today, you have the mayor of Hialeah that has spoken today, and Mayor Gilbert, when he spoke earlier today, he was at a funeral this morning. We don't have to know what age that was, because it doesn't matter, because he was still at a funeral this morning. The message is face covering, face covering, face covering. We all have family. We all are from the same community. We ask each and every single one of you to work with us, work together, because everything we do today impacts tomorrow. I want to thank you all for being here, and I'll bring up Commissioner Hardeman.
So thank you, everyone. I'm going to conclude the press conference. If you have additional questions from particular mayors, please pull each of them to the side and ask your questions.